extended lockdowns in Sydney and Melbourne. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg joins me now from Canberra. Treasurer, we got to remember that these are the June quarter figures, isn't it? Before Sydney and Melbourne went into lockdown. September's going to be a shocker. You've got to be happy with June.
Well, they're a solid set of numbers because it showed that the economy, Koch, continued to grow in June, and it was better than what the market was expecting. Yep. 29 days out of the June quarter saw lockdowns in one part or another of Australia, including across our 4 largest states. But you're right, the September quarter is expected to see the economy contract and see the fuller impact of the New South Wales and Victorian lockdowns. But what was pleasing about yesterday's numbers was that housing investment was up off the back of programs like the Home Builder, and machinery and equipment sales were up off the back of our immediate expensing provisions, and household consumption was up off the back of our tax cuts. So there is some good economic activity that's been occurring, and it does show the resilience of our economy.
OK, economic recession defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth will be negative in September. We need growth in December, but that depends on how lockdowns are extended, how far they are. Are you confident that lockdowns will be over in the December quarter? You've got WA and Queensland basically saying we're going to keep our borders closed for an extended period of time.
Well, I'm very confident that we'll start to see that easing of restrictions at 70 to 80%, and once restrictions are eased, households will be able to spend and travel more freely.
But Queensland and WA are
saying see stronger economic activity.
But Queensland and WA are saying we're pulling out of that agreement. We're not going to abide by the 70 and 80%.
Well, Kochie, I would join with your proprietor, Kerry Stokes, and so many others in saying that all states and territories, regardless of their political persuasions, should stick to the plan agreed at National Cabinet. Yesterday, we saw 80 of Australia's largest companies go very public and say how important it was for the economy that we stick to that plan. In Western Australia, they've got job shortages. In Queensland, the tourism businesses are doing it tough. Anastasia Palaszczuk will have to tell that Sunshine Coast or Gold Coast tourism operator, the theme park operator, the fishing charter operator in Cairns, why does she want to keep the borders closed when the rest of the country is opening up?
She's saying she's scared for Queensland kids, under 12-year-olds. Does that wash with you?
No, it's a desperate denial of the reality, and it's not based on the medical advice. The medical advice is that the illnesses in kids is much less severe than we see in adults. The medical advice is that we should vaccinate people who are aged 12 to 15, which we're doing, of course, with the older population. The medical advice is what we are following. The medical advice is what the Doherty plan was based on. I think the people of Queensland are recognising that they have to live with COVID. It's a reality that has now been accepted in Victoria with yesterday's announcement that they can't eliminate it. No country's eliminated it, and that's why it's so important that we stick to the plan and open up accordingly.
Speaking of the plan, New South Wales Premier was very open with us on Sunrise yesterday, has promised to resume international travel once the state hits that 80% double dose target. Just have a look.
Well, Koch, at 80% double-dose vaccination, we can look forward to international travel, and that is the plan that we all signed up to. So I'm really committed to making sure New South Wales residents have access to international travel once we hit that 80% double dose.
Treasurer, she says she'll go it alone, but you control the borders. Will you allow her to open the international borders once New South Wales gets to 80% double dose vaccination, even if other states don't want it?
Well, I can't give that commitment right now. What I can say is that we're because obviously those are decisions that will need to be worked through in quite a lot of detail. But we are prepared to have that conversation with New South Wales about their opening up and about what their plans are for home quarantine, for example, which would be a key part of getting more and more people into the state from overseas. It's really important that we work through these issues in a methodical way, But Gladys Berejiklian is taking the lead now in easing restrictions in her state, just as her state has seen a rapid number of people and an increased number of people who are getting the vaccination, and that is to be welcome. And I could understand the frustration of people in New South Wales who reach those targets and then say, hang on, those people in Queensland or those people in Western Australia are not getting vaccinated at the same rate we do. We want our restrictions eased, we want our freedoms back. I can understand that frustration. We'll have that conversation and we'll work through those issues.
Okay. Treasurer, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good to be with you, Kochie.
Here's Nat.